Welcome back to The Explainer. This is the place where we take complex topics, rigorous data, and essential research, and we distill them into crystal clear, slide-driven insights. If you're a focused learner, someone who's really looking to master the high-stakes, highly strategic world of Cambridge Accounting 9706, well, you are in exactly the right place today. We're opening up the ultimate guide, the examiner's playbook on partners, capital, and current accounts. And let me tell you, this isn't just about balancing books. It's about deeply understanding the theoretical architecture that Cambridge examiners are actively hunting for on exam day. So we're going to use this slide deck to completely demystify the process and give you that strategic edge. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive right into this quote. The difference between a B and an A star in accounting often comes down to how well you understand partners' capital and current accounts. Now, that is a direct insight straight from the syllabus parameters and senior examiners. This single topic, it acts as a massive filter on exam day. It literally separates the students who have just sort of memorized textbook entries from the true scholars who can structurally adapt to really complex, unfamiliar financial scenarios. We're here to make absolutely sure you land firmly in that top-tier category. To get you there, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at Section 1, the A-star difference. Section 2, the core conceptual framework. Section 3, the technical methodology. Section 4, top examiner warnings. And finally, Section 5, the evaluation strategy. Starting things off with Section 1, the A-star difference, bridging the academic gap. So there is a very stark contrast between average and elite performance here. You see, a B grade generally represents a surface-level understanding. That's a student who knows the basic rules, right? But they get completely derailed the second a question introduces a slight twist. An A-star grade, on the other hand, is entirely rooted in the Cambridge assessment framework, which actively prioritizes analytical depth over superficial breadth. Top-performing students exhibit this incredibly connected, conceptual understanding that is highly transferable. Think about it. When examiners throw an unfamiliar context at you, maybe it's a really unusual profit-sharing ratio adjustment or just some unexpected withdrawal scenario. An A student simply doesn't panic. They rely on their deep conceptual foundation to adapt, pivot, and solve the problem. Moving right along to Section 2, core conceptual framework, the theoretical architecture. The theoretical architecture of partners' capital and current accounts really rests on three main pillars: precise definitions, causal relationships, and integration with other syllabus areas. The absolutely crucial point to remember here is this: accounting doesn't happen in a vacuum. Principal examiner reports continually highlight that candidates who reference cross-topic connections end up achieving significantly higher marks. For example, showing how a partner's current account balance directly impacts the broader liquidity or the working capital of the partnership. Examiners are looking for logical, highly structured reasoning. They want to see that you actually understand why an entry is made, not just where it goes on a ledger. Next up is Section 3, the technical methodology, executing on exam day. Let's look at how this builds a rigorous procedural framework. When you're staring down a massive, complex partnership question, you don't just grab your pen and start writing. First, you deconstruct the question. What are they actually asking? Second, you carefully extract the relevant data from the stimulus texts and tables. Third, you select your analytical framework. Fourth, and we're going to come back to this because it's a game changer, you execute with perfectly clear notation. Fifth, verify your results for reasonableness. Does this number actually make sense? And sixth, present your findings with absolute professional terminology. This structured step-by-step approach is exactly how you manage complex data interpretation and build evidence-based conclusions without getting totally overwhelmed. Now, pay close attention because here is the most valuable piece of advice in this entire explainer: the method mark strategy. In Cambridge 9706 accounting, marks are consistently awarded for the process. You wouldn't believe how many students lose catastrophic amounts of marks by simply not showing their working. Hear this loud and clear. Even if your final numerical answer is completely 100% wrong because your finger slipped and you hit the wrong button on your calculator, clear workings can save you. Method marks are a literal lifeline. Your process, your steps, and your visible logic are just as important, and honestly, sometimes more important than the final numbers sitting at the bottom of the page. Let's keep that momentum going into Section 4, top examiner warnings, avoiding fatal flaws. Pulled straight from the principal examiner reports, there are 3 fatal mistakes that just bleed points from otherwise incredibly capable students. Number 1, vague answers. When you are explaining a change in a partner's capital, examiners do not want sweeping generalizations. They want specific data-backed details. Number 2, forgetting format and presentation conventions. Look, proper headings, the correct terminology, and clear annotations, those aren't optional suggestions. They are mandatory professional standards. And number 3, answers that are not specific to the given context. If the partnership you're analyzing manufactures furniture, your analysis needs to reflect that specific reality, not some generic textbook scenario. Context is absolute king here. Finally, let's head into Section 5, the evaluation strategy, unlocking top-tier marks. What you're looking at is the hierarchy of thinking examiners expect to see from you. Down at the baseline, we have the descriptive level. That's just identifying basic data, stating what's there. A step above that is the analytical level. This is where you actually show relationships and execute the math. But if you want to get that A-star, you must operate at the evaluative level. These higher-order assessment objectives demand that you evaluate alternatives, compare different approaches, and most importantly, make justified recommendations. It is nowhere near enough to just say what the numbers are. You have to articulate what the partnership should actually do about them.
To do that effectively, you have to evaluate the evidence itself. And this requires you to identify the limitations of the data provided to you. What assumptions are being made in these partnership accounts? Are there alternative interpretations of this financial position? I'll be honest, pointing out the limitations of your own analysis or the limitations of the data provided is very often the hardest part for students. But it is the absolute key to drawing the strong, sophisticated conclusions that examiners absolutely love to reward.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative question. If an examiner looked at your unformatted workings on a practice paper right now, today, would they actually be able to award you the method marks? Would they see your clear notation, your logical steps, and your cross-topic integration? Or would they just see a jumble of numbers and a wrong final answer? Be honest with yourself. Take the conceptual frameworks and the structured methodologies we've explored today, pull up a past paper, and put them into practice. Force yourself to be clear, force yourself to be contextual, and always be evaluative. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer today. Keep learning, keep structuring that knowledge, and I will see you next time.